time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, brought to you by Loophole, America's optical authority. Check out their scopes, binoculars, and more at loophole.com. By Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. See what's cooking for you at campchef.com. By Wallowa County, nature never looks so good as it does in Northeast Oregon. Plan your trip today at WallawaCountyChamber.com. By Max Lure Company, makers of the Smile Blade and Wedding Ring Spinner. Find out more at maxlure.com. And by Mardon Resort, where the fish bite, but we don't. Book your next hunting, fishing, or camping getaway at mardonresort.com. Now, let's head to the field and find out what's going on this week with your host, John Cruz.
Last month, we were proud to announce we were recognized by the Northwest Outdoor Writers Association with some awards for our show. And this weekend, we are both proud and humbled to announce we have taken home several first and second place awards for our radio show on the national level. That's right, the Outdoor Writers Association of America gave us a first place Excellence in Craft Award for an interview we did about salmon fishing in the Columbia River Gorge last September with guide Bruce Warren. We also took home second place awards for segments we broadcast with Levi Meisberg while goose hunting with Meisberg Guided Adventures in Eastern Washington, and for a humorous conservation piece we broadcast highlighting how little yours truly knows about great horned owls when we talked to Janie Fink with Birds of Prey Northwest in northern Idaho. I'd like to thank our guests from these broadcasts for bringing these segments to life and elevating them to the level of national award-winning radio. It would be fair to say Bruce, Levi, and Janie deserve just as much credit as anyone for this recognition that puts us on top in the world of outdoors radio, considering how many great shows are broadcast about fishing, hunting, and more in places like California, Texas, the Midwest, the Southeast, and even here in the Northwest. This is quite an honor indeed. Wow, who would have thunk? Let's move on to this week on the show. Mike McKenna, the author of the award-winning book, Angling Around Sun Valley, tells us about his year-round fly fishing guide to South Central Idaho and gives you a couple suggestions on where you might want to wet a line this summer. School is letting out, and it's time to think about summer camp for the kids. We are sending ours to Tall Timber Ranch in Washington's Cascade Mountains, and you might want to do so as well. Lindsay Minette, the program director at Tall Timber, will tell you about all the fun your child or teen can have outdoors. Summertime is also a great time to paddle a canoe, kayak, or a stand-up paddleboard. That's why we are bringing you Laurel Bronze. She's actually a talented folk singer with several CDs to her name, but she's a paddler too who works with Tumalo Kayak and Canoe. She's going to tell you about this great place where you can rent one of these watercraft, take some lessons, or go on a guided tour on the Deschutes River or at some lakes around Bend, Oregon. We've also got updated fishing reports from around the Northwest, a change in our news from last week about a possible sage-grouse hunting closure in Montana, and some cool upcoming events ranging from a pickin' and paddling afternoon and evening in Bend, free fishing weekends around the Northwest, a celebration of National Trails Day, and even a chance to go on an expedition to look for elusive grizzly bears in the North Cascades. Throw in an extended Max Minute with the introduction of a brand new lure for salmon, and we've got a lot coming your way. But first, David Sparks has a new edition of Sportsman Spotlight for us and talks about the fact that wolves not only kill livestock, but at times they may go after your dog too. If you love your four-legged friend, you'll want to hear this and keep a close eye on your pet the next time you're out in wolf country.
Yet another reason for hunting wolves. David Sparks with Sportsman Spotlight. We've done so many stories on wolves and how they've decimated ungulate populations throughout the Northwest. And I know there are both sides to every story, but one thing's for sure. If you lost your hunting dog to a wolf, you probably wouldn't be too much on the forgiving side, would you? So imagine going bird hunting with your favorite dog in wolf country. Could that be risky? Listen to Todd Grimm, State Director of USDA Wildlife Services.
We got a call that wolves had killed a dog in the Boise foothills. We went up and examined the carcass of the dog, and it was obviously killed by a wolf.
And you determined that by?
We skinned the animal and looked at the wounds, looked at the subcutaneous hemorrhage associated with the bite marks on the animal, and nothing bites down like a wolf. They just crush tissue when they bite.
They don't kill that animal for food. They just kill because?
They did not eat this dog. There are times when they will eat dogs. As far as what their motivation was, impossible to say. For the most part, wolves and dogs don't get along too well, and the dogs are almost always on the losing side of that, depending upon how many there are. One wolf against one dog is not a match. Unless he's fast, he's going to die.
So hunters, beware. If you're in wolf country and you're not keeping a very close eye on your beloved dog, we have now found out that tragedies can happen. This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
I've enjoyed every person I've ever worked with at Farm Credit.
Oregon farmer Skip Gray talks about Northwest Farm Credit Services.
You want to surround yourself with top-drawer people, and Farm Credit provides top-drawer people. So it's been my privilege to be a local advisor with Farm Credit.
Northwest Farm Credit Services is a cooperative guided by customer advisors. Farmer Chad Neely explains the advantages of such a system.
The board of directors are all agriculture people, whether they're dairymen, cow guys, cow-calf guys, or row crop or dryland farmers. They've all been out there on the front lines, and I have access to those people.
This kind of access is an advantage for producers.
That's a big thing. I mean, there's one of the guys that farms real close to right here, and I can call and talk to him and say, hey, what do you think? Or here's my opinion. So many banks, they don't even let you get close to the people that make the decisions. You don't even know who they are.
Northwest Farm Credit Services. Customer owned, customer driven.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Up next, we've got a fisherman coming to you. It's Mike McKenna. He is the author of Angling Around Sun Valley, a year-round fly fishing guide to South Central Idaho. This book actually won first place for the Northwest Outdoor Writers Association Excellence in Craft. It's a major award, and it's well-deserved because this is a beautiful book, chock full of information about fishing in Idaho. Mike, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, John. That was awful nice of you to say. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on your show.
Well, Mike, tell our listeners a little bit more about this book. Now, I understand we're talking about fishing around Sun Valley and South Central Idaho, but let's talk about what kind of fishing. Are we talking just trout? Are we talking fly fishing only? Tell me more.
A little bit of everything. It is designed for fly fishing and trout specifically, but the book, of course, has tips and tricks and maps and advice from local guides that are applied to any type of angling. And it covers the area within a 60-mile or 1-hour drive of our region here in the Sun Valley Catch and Resort area right here in the south central part of the state.
Well, it's one of the most beautiful places in the Northwest. So if you're looking for a wonderful place to go fishing in terms of a scenic place to get out there and catch fish, this is the place to do it. What kind of trout are we talking about here? Are we talking just rainbows and cutthroat or a little bit more?
Yeah, there's rainbows, and then our Idaho state fish, of course, is cutthroat. There's plenty of those around here. Yeah, brown trout, rainbows, brook trout. Whitefish is also protected in some of our areas, like the Big Gloucester Range. So this fish, it covers the fisheries in our area, like the Big Wood, our famous Silver Creek, which has the famous brown Drake catch about to go off here in a couple of weeks, the Big Lost Basin, Copper Basin, and a little bit of the Stanley area, which is slightly to our north where the Salmon River starts its headwaters.
Okay. We've got the table set, so to speak, so people know what they're going to find in the book, but let's talk about how this book is laid out. I really like the fact, because it is laid out as a year-round guide with color codes. And tell me more about, when people open up the pages and go to the gray section or the red section, what are they going to find there?
That's a great question. Well, one of the things that makes this book a little bit unique is it's a seasonal guide, because we're lucky enough to be able to fish, at least fly fishing, year-round here in this area. So each season is broken down color-wise. So say you come to visit us and it's June and you want to know where you can go and what you can catch and what's open, you can switch to the green section, which is spring, and it'll have, rundowns on the Big Wood, Silver Creek, the Big Lost, some still waters in the area. And then in the back of the book, which is very important for Silver Creek outfitters who really helped us put this together, we have basically a fly fishing 101 section, which shows you all that sort of fly fishing information, which can be a very intimidating sport to get into. And there's also a fishing with kids section in the back, which could be applied to fly fishing or spin fishing, jigging, whatever you'd like to do. And so we tried to color code it like that to make it a little bit quicker and easier. We also tried to put a nice sort of waterproof coating on this, figuring that this book was going to spend a lot of time in people's people's, pickup trucks and cars. And so if it doubled as a beer koozie, that would be handy as well.
Well, I love the fact that this really is built for the dashboard or to be a handy reference in your car or field. And folks, I love the fact that this is an angler's reference, and it's also a beautiful book. I mean, yeah, it's got the information you need, and it's broken down very succinctly as well. But each one of these entries has just a gorgeous photo, and then you've got the photos or the illustrations of the flies that you ought to use. You got the fly types you ought to use broken down in like a table or a graph, so to speak, for each month, and then just a few paragraphs or a couple of pages about each fishery. It's just perfect if you're an angler and just need to know where to go fish and just the basic facts about it.
Yeah, thanks. That was the key, too. So I interviewed 18 of the best local guides in our area, men and women who've been fishing this region for literally hundreds of years combined. And I didn't just we wanted to have all the great guidebook stuff, where to go, what to throw, when and how to throw, but also to give you some connection to why people love Silver Creek so much or what the connection is with the Big Woods. So it's filled with all those use-friendly tips, but then it's also, like you commented on, has a bunch of short stories on maybe one of the guide's favorite stories in Silver Creek when he somehow met his wife while he was guiding her, or I help a member of Real Recovery. I'm a fishing buddy. I take guys struggling with cancer out to the Copper Basin every year, and so there's stories of that. And so there's some heartwarming and connection and sort of so that we could share the passion that people have, not just for this area, but for fishing and for fishing in our region. And we're really blessed around here. So hopefully the guidebook has a little bit of something for everybody, not only people looking for the nuts and bolts, but the people looking for a little inspiration or maybe to try to explain to their sons or partners why they love fishing so much.
Fantastic. And again, well done. Said it before, going to keep saying it because this is a great book, folks. You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. The book, Angling Around Sun Valley, a year-round fly fishing guide to South Central Idaho. The author, Mike McKenna. That's who we're talking to now. Mike, we're into June now. Let's go ahead and give our listeners a couple places they might want to consider fishing in June, July timeframe.
Well, that's a wonderful time to come up here. June specifically because that's when we get our famous brown drake hatch down on Silver Creek, which is just starting to pick up right now. It usually lasts about a week or so if you can get over here in the middle of June. Then the Big Wood, of course, unfortunately, is our river right through town, but in the spring it's a little muddy, so we tend to try to go to still waters. Magic Reservoir is a good spot this time of year, especially for guys and gals like to throw bait. And as the summer kind of carries on and the rivers calm down, then the Big Wood becomes one of the best dry fly fisheries in the country. Really easy to access right all through three towns we have here, Bellevue, Haley, and the Ketchum-Sun Valley area. And then, of course, as it warms up, all those high mountain lakes, we're surrounded by 5 mountain ranges here, and I'm a big fan of hiking to those sort of off-the-beaten-path places and chasing those brook trout and the cutthroats. And we do, if you're willing to hike higher enough into the Big Lost Range, there are some golden trout up there as well.
Oh, my. That is on my bucket list. Still haven't caught a golden trout yet. I did finally get to some grayling lakes, and I've done that, but I have not got the elusive golden trout. So I'm going to be checking out that Alpine Lakes entry in your book to find out more about that. Tell me more about the Big Wood River. It sounds like a fantastic stream to fish. Go ahead and break that fishery down for me.
It's an amazing fishery because it's not only it's open for all kinds of fishing throughout the year. There's spin sections, there's fly fishing sections. It runs about 60 miles through the length of our valley and along the highway, basically. So access is really easy, and it's a very friendly wading river. It's a little high right now in the spring, but once it calms down here, it's a great starter river because it's full of particularly rainbows. There are some browns and brookies in there as well, but really aggressive fish. So it's easy access, easy wading, and it's pretty friendly fishery. Especially, hopefully, we'll have a good cricket year this year because it feels like you're throwing Twinkies out there, but they'll come right up and eat them. And it's a real gem that gets overlooked because of Silver Creek is our famous spring creek, but everyone knows that it's sort of our secret here that it's as good a fishery as you're going to find anywhere in the country.
And Magic Reservoir, tell me a little bit more about that. Where is it located, and how do you go about fishing that, whether you're in a float tube or from the bank?
You could do all that, Magic. So the Big Wood runs down and fills up Magic Reservoir. It's about 15-20 miles from here in Haley, and it's a great place. It also has bass in there as well as a healthy trout population. And it's a great place to troll. It's a great place to float tube. There's some good bank casting, especially on the north end where the river comes in. It's sort of a bread and butter fishery around here. Everybody can go down to Magic, whatever your style is, and have a good time.
All right, Mike. So where can people get a hold of this book, Angling Around Sun Valley, an award-winning year-round fly fishing guide to South Central Idaho?
Well, all of our local tackle shops and bookstores in our region here of the Wood River Valley sell them, as well as a couple places in Boise like Anglers and Idaho Anglers. But the best place to get them online is silver-creek.com, Silver Creek Outfitters website, where they will send it with no shipping. They don't charge you shipping, so it's the $19.95 and a little bit of tax, and they can send it right to you.
Well, I love that. So silver-creek.com is the place to go. What about Amazon? Does Amazon carry it?
Amazon is not carrying it. That's on our to-do list as they keep us pretty busy around here. But it's doing well with all the local retailers, so we're trying to support local businesses. But eventually we'll get it on there.
All right. Well, Amazon, listen up. You're missing out. You need to get this book on there. Angling Around Sun Valley, a year-round fly fishing guide to South Central Idaho. The best website to get it is silver-creek.com. That's silver-creek.com for Silver Creek Outfitters, because they will send you this book without any shipping costs. You just pay the $19.95, and you've got a book that you're going to have in your car on your dashboard, and you'll be leafing through this like I am right now and dreaming about your next trip and then driving there in a hurry. Want to thank you so much for telling us all about this, Mike. This is a great book, and I love the fact you broke down some destinations for us, too.
Well, it's my pleasure, John. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate your time and effort.
It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
Breaking news, since we recorded this interview with Mike McKenna, Amazon has agreed to pick up Angling Around Sun Valley. Do we have that much pull here on Northwestern Outdoors Radio? I doubt it, but guess what? We're taking credit anyway. Look for Angling Around Sun Valley by Mike McKenna on Amazon.com.
That's the sound you hear when a fish hits the new Sonic bait fish from Max Lure Company. This metal lure can be cast, trolled, or jigged and will catch just about anything that swims in the sea, the river, or the lake. The Sonic bait fish has a unique vibration and flutter that can be rigged in 7 different ways. With all sorts of eye-catching colors and weights available, you'll be reaching for the Sonic bait fish as your go-to lure. It's the Sonic bait fish. And that's another fish on, only from Max Lure Company.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us again is Lance Mers. Lance, you've been fishing for Chinook salmon, and I understand you had a pretty good day on the Columbia River, just at the mouth of the Wind River, and you were using a brand new lure to get these fish in the boat. Tell me more about it.
John, we had a fantastic time. We were using the Max Lure Smile Blade herring rig. And the great thing about this is it has a 1.9-inch smile blade. The beads below the smile blade have a bobber stop knot. So what it means is that you can get different actions by simply sliding the knot to and from, or you can use a whole herring or a cut plug herring.
So you're talking about using herring here, and I know that herring is an effective bait for Chinook salmon on the Columbia River, but it's also a great bait to use whether you're using cut plug herring or anchovy off the Oregon coast or the Washington coast, and those fisheries are going off right now. So how do you go about fishing it?
Well, a lot of folks are using flashers. They're running a 2-foot leader off of that flasher, but our success, believe it or not, was a Max Lure Double D Dodger.
So in the river, you're using a Double D Dodger. I guess in the river or perhaps open water settings in the ocean, you can use a flasher. And again, it looks like just a big double whammy, folks. You got the big Mylar smile blade, and then you got the 2 hooks that you normally associate with putting on herring or sardines, and it's as simple as that.
Yep. It has a 3 and a 4/0 hook on a 25-pound test line. Now, the cool thing about this is it's brand new, so it's not in the catalog at all. You got to go to the website.
All right, and we better give people that website. If it's not in dealerships yet, we better tell people what the website is.
Right. Just go to www.maxlure.com.
That's maxlure.com, maxlure.com. Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, and the double whammy smile blade herring rig is just another example of that. Look for it again on the Max Lure website. Looking for the ultimate salmon and halibut fishing experience at a great price? Then make plans to enjoy the real news for the Wild Northern Fish-In, taking place August 23rd through the 26th. You'll be fishing the protected waters around British Columbia's Queen Charlotte Islands during the day and enjoying first-class food and accommodations at night. If you want an incredible saltwater fishing experience you'll never forget, the Wild Northern Fish-In is for you. Find out more at therealnews.com. That's the real REEL news.com for the Wild Northern Fish-In.
Breathe the fresh mountain air and feel the tranquility in Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Cast your line into the clear waters of our mountain-fed streams and rivers. Find solitude and surround yourself with nature as you fish for rainbow, brook, and bull trout. Or challenge yourself and fish for world-class steelhead in the wild and scenic Wallowa River or kokanee in the deep waters of Wallowa Lake. And when evening comes, spend some time hoisting a local brew and telling the tales of the one that got away. Watch the world wake up in Wallowa County. Your morning begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
Hello, Mother. Hello, Father. Here I am at Camp Granada. Camp is very entertaining, and they say we'll have some fun if it stops raining. I went hiking with Joe Spivey. He developed poison ivy.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Summer is approaching quick, and if you're a parent, you might be thinking to yourself, what am I going to do with the kids this summer? Well, I've got just the place for you. It's a place I've been sending my kids every summer for years. It's Tall Timber. It's located basically in the Cascade Mountains over by Lake Wenatchee in Leavenworth, Washington. It's an absolutely gorgeous place that your kids are going to love. With us here to tell us more about it is Lindsay Minette. She's the program director at Tall Timber Ranch and a hiker herself. One of her claims to fame is hiking the entire Pacific Crest Trail. Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thank you so much.
Let's go ahead and talk about Tall Timber. Why don't you just describe what Tall Timber is for our listeners?
Tall Timber is a youth and family retreat and wilderness center located on the skirts of the Glacier Peak Wilderness north of Lake Wenatchee. We have excellent programs with our location ranging from family camp, children, youth from second grade through high school, doing all kinds of adventure and wilderness activities.
And let me go ahead and paint the picture for all of you listeners out there. Basically, you have this camp that's sitting along a meadow right next to the Napiqua River. It's a small little mountain stream on one end. On the other end is the White River. And as you're sitting in the lodge, where you get some fantastic food, by the way, and you step outside, you're going to look across this meadow, and you're going to see deer out there in the meadow. Sometimes you're going to see grouse out there. You're going to see rabbits as well. And this beautiful view of the Cascade Mountains and the pine trees is just beyond that meadow. There's a whole bunch of cabins where your kids, or if you're there on a family camp where you're going to sleep, most of them are basically dormitory style. There are a few that are family style, and it's a comfortable place to go, and it's a fun place to go. And I guess we should probably talk about, in terms of the kids, Lindsay, what kind of age groups you serve there?
So we have different camps set up for each bracket of age range. We have a 2nd to 5th grade camp. It's called our Primary Plus. And with that one this year, we have a string camp option where we are partnering with Kaleidoscope Ministries, and they will have violin lessons throughout the week.
Cool.
We also have a junior camp, and that is 4th to 6th grade. We have a junior high adventure camp where kids get to choose an overnight expedition to go on, which can be rock climbing, canoeing, mountain biking, horseback riding, and there's a few more. And then they come back to residential camp and do the full gamut that we have to offer there. And that's our 7th to 9th grade. We have junior high camp, which is 6th to 8th grade, and our senior high conference, which is 9th grade through 12th grade.
Now, your shorter camps run only about 3 days. Your longer ones run about 5. Something else we should be talking about for the older kids from 8th to 12th grade, you offer something called caravans. Tell me more about that.
That's right. Caravans is just a unique thing that we get to do with our ministry, and that is taking a group of kids out into wilderness places with counselors and with experienced guides to get to experience the outdoors in just some brand new ways, where we do a full week in the Icicle Canyon in Leavenworth, where kids will learn how to rock climb. We have anyone who is beginner to intermediate to experienced, and we can custom design their experience because we have so many guides on that trip, and we teach belaying skills, and we do multi-pitch climbs with them. We also have an adventure sampler for those who want to experience a full range of activities, from horseback riding to rafting to canoeing to rock climbing. We have a river fest, which we partner with Youth Dynamics, also here in Plain, where we do a rafting trip and we do inflatable kayaks. And then some of our bigger offers that we're doing, we have a hike like your son David did with us last year on the Pacific Crest Trail from Stevens Pass to Tall Timber. And then we are summiting Glacier Peak this summer, which is really exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then our big finale with caravans is the end of the year Rockin' Road Trip. And we are heading up to Squamish and BC for a full week up there.
Tell me more about this rock and roll trip. Is this basically a rock climbing expedition that's taking place in Canada?
It is. So we're going to load up our vans, and my husband, who is AMGA Rock Guide certified, and I will be leading that expedition along with some other staff. So we'll take about 12 to 15 campers up there for a full week of climbing on some big rock.
Oh, fantastic. Folks, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Lindsay Minette. She's the program director at Tall Timber Ranch. It's located in north central Washington. Great place to go yourself and an even better place to send the kids this summer. So we've talked about the programs you have. And again, my son did get to go hiking on the Pacific Crest Trail with Lindsay's husband and a couple of other counselors last year. Had a fantastic time. And I really like the fact that it's not just you go to camp and you get fed, both from a spiritual sense and from a fun sense, but you basically push these kids to a little bit of a degree too. I mean, you're not pushing them beyond their limits, but these kids are doing stuff that they wouldn't normally think that they could do, whether it's hiking 45 miles on the Pacific Crest Trail or going rock climbing. I think that's just fantastic.
Absolutely. And that is just one of our big goals at Tall Timber is growth, because it's just absolutely necessary for just in all areas of our life to be challenged to grow.
You know, let me ask you another question. You are a Presbyterian camp, you're a Christian camp, but do you have to be a Presbyterian, or do you even have to go to church to go to Tall Timber?
Absolutely not. We want anyone to come to our camp. The thing is, if you are affiliated with a church, it doesn't hurt to ask them for camper scholarships. But if you aren't involved in a church, we do have some funding available to help offset some of our costs.
Well, and I got to point out to you folks out there, too, you know, we're going to direct you to their website at the end of this broadcast. I'll give you a sneak preview, talltimber.org. When you go ahead and look at the programs, you're going to find that they're actually very affordable, considering the fact that your kid's going to be having a place to stay and is going to be fed 3 great meals a day, and they're going to get all of this rich experience in the outdoors. It's an absolute bargain what you're going to be paying. So that's good to know. One other thing, is there anything new besides the rock climbing that's going to be taking place this year that you're excited about?
Yes, I am thrilled to introduce our summer theme. It's Highland Games. So we are going to be dividing into clans each week. We have our tartans, our coat of arms. We'll have a Highland game event with clacknart, caber tossing, haggis hurling, archery, and sheep herding with actual live sheep. We have our arts program with ceramics and calligraphy, and we'll be learning about the Celtic roots of our faith.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. Folks, you can find out more about Tall Timber by going to their website. Lindsay, why don't we go ahead and give folks the website there?
Yes, you can find us at talltimber.org. Make sure there's no S in there. It's Tall Timber. And you can also connect with us on Facebook.
Okay. And one other thing. I mean, it is June right now. What's the cutoff date for people to register for these camps?
Well, some of the camps are filling up pretty quickly, such as the Glacier Peak climb, where we have limited numbers that can go into the wilderness. So if any interest in that, I would sign up right now because there's only 4 spots left.
Okay.
And also we have a new film camp where there's only a few spots left in that as well. So we don't have an official cutoff date. Our other camps have plenty of room, but some of the more specialty camps with our caravans and limited numbers, you'll want to just sign up as soon as you can.
There you go, folks. And like Lindsay said, you better go ahead and sign up in a hurry. The website, again, is really simple. talltimber.org. talltimber.org. That's for Tall Timber Ranch. It's a magical place. Your kids are going to love it, and they're like my kids. They're going to want to go back year after year. Lindsay, thanks for telling us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you this summer.
Mata fata, kindly disregard this letter.
Ah, the great outdoors. I'm ready for a great weekend of camping at this remote campground. But first, I think I'll invite my camp neighbors over for a meal of fire-roasted hot dogs and baked beans. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum. Hi, neighbors. I just came over to...
Pizza!
Hey, is that pizza you're eating? How did you get pizza out in the middle of nowhere?
Pizza!
Thanks. Oh, This is delicious. A pizza oven operated on a propane canister and another on the top of your camp stove, and they're both made by Camp Chef? I knew Camp Chef made great stuff for outdoors cooking, but this? I've got to get one of these pizza ovens from Camp Chef. No more beans and weenies for this guy. From now on, it's artisan pizza for me when I'm camping.
Pizza! The Camp Chef Pizza Oven. Bake your own artisan masterpiece on your back patio or at the campground. Find out more at your local sporting goods dealer or at campchef.com.
From the Columbia River to Puget Sound, the Coastal Conservation Association in the Pacific Northwest works to conserve the fish we love and does so while protecting our heritage of sport fishing. To find out more, go to ccapnw.org. Again, that's ccapnw.org.
Chase me down. I can't see the bottom of the ocean.
The music you're hearing is actually coming from our next guest, Laurel Braun. She is a talented singer and songwriter with several CDs to her name. You can find out more about that at her website, laurelbrauns, BRAUNS.com. But Laurel does something else. She works at Tumalo Creek Kayak and Canoe in Bend, Oregon. And it being summer or darn close to it, it's time to talk about having fun on the water. Laurel, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Don. It's great to be here.
Laurel, tell us a little bit more about Tumalo Creek Kayak and Canoe, exactly where you're located in Bend, and what kind of services do you offer?
We are right on the Deschutes River, just downstream from the old mill, so literally in the heart of Bend, across from the Colorado Bridge. And we do a huge rental business in the summertime. We rent river tubes, kayaks, and canoes, and people can just paddle upstream right here from the back lawn of our store. Or they have the means, they can take the boat with them up to the Cascade Lakes, which is about a 35-minute drive up towards Mount Bachelor, and there's a number of absolutely epic places to paddle up there.
And you also have stand-up paddle boards too, don't you?
Yes, that is really big now. Ben just got named by Outside Magazine as one of the best destinations for stand-up paddleboarding in the world. So we're happy to claim that at this point. And every night on the river, there's at least 3 or 4 dozen people out there on board.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your services. So you have tours, you have lessons for those that are just getting started, and you have rentals too. So let's talk first off about the lessons that you offer there. If somebody's never really done kayaking or stand-up paddleboarding before, and they want to try, how does this work?
Oh, sure. Every week, multiple times a week, actually, we offer stand-up paddleboard and beginning kayak lessons, and they run from about 3 to 4 hours and $55 to $65. Expert instruction, and by the end of the lesson, you'll definitely be a lot more comfortable and confident in your boat and know a lot more about the craft themselves. So if you are in the market to buy one, you'll kind of know better what you're looking for.
And likewise with the tours, are these geared towards beginners? And when we're talking kayaks, canoes, stand-up paddleboards?
Oh, sure. Well, we offer tours on the Deschutes River, and our half-day tour is just a 15-minute drive up the road. And so that's great. If you have another activity you want to do in the evening, it's on a really pristine section of the Deschutes. And then our full day is a little farther outside of town, but again, a really gorgeous stretch of river. We provide lunch by a local bakery here, and so that's for people who want to kind of spend the whole day out there and enjoy it.
Sounds fantastic, but getting back closer to home, when I think of the Deschutes, I always think about whitewater rafting up near Maupin or downstream from there. Are we talking rapids, or are we talking flat water in the Bend area and upstream?
Well, Bend is really unique in that the section of the Deschutes that runs through here has everything from Class 5 rapids to just really lazy moving flat water. So our tours are on the flat water sections between 2 major rapids.
Okay, so there you go. So folks, if you want some lessons, if you want some tours, Tumalo Creek Kayak and Canoe is the place to go. And again, you have rentals. You rent whitewater rafts, you rent the canoes, the kayaks, the stand-up paddleboards. If somebody was to do that, obviously they can go right out your door and be doing it right there in the Deschutes. What are some other places you'd like to send people to enjoy some time on the water?
One of our favorite places to send people is just up the Cascade Lake Highway where there's anywhere from 10 to 15 different bodies of water. Sparks is one of our favorites with Mount Bachelor and South Sister in the distance. A little bit farther down, Elk Lake is really nice. There's a lodge there that you can get lunch at. So, yeah, and then if they're interested in whitewater, we've got some great rivers nearby, the Mackenzie, the Umpqua. So, yeah.
It sounds fantastic. So, again, folks, the place is Tumalo Creek Kayak and Canoe. The website is tumalocreek.com. Let me spell Tumalo for you, Tumalo creek.com. That's tumalocreek.com. They're also on Facebook. Laurel, thanks for telling us all about this. This sounds fantastic. We're going to have you back a few minutes from now on the show because I want to talk about an upcoming event that's taking place in your neck of the woods, too.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
Let's turn our attention to some field reports brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. The surface water temperature there is between 63 and 70 degrees, and the bass bite is hot. There have been reports of 30 to 50 fish days from fishermen over the last 2 weeks. Bass are hitting poppers and frogs for the top water bite, and Senkos and tube baits are working great below the surface. The walleye catch has also been fabulous. Your best bet to catching this fish is to fish a slow death hook like the Max Smile Blade Slow Death Rig tipped with a crawler. Lynn Cooley and the Crab Creek have both been producing, but frankly, anywhere on Potholes Reservoir can produce these tasty fish right now. Find out more about the great fishing here and about where to stay at MardonResort.com. That's Mardon Resort, where the fish bite, but we don't. In other field reports, salmon fishing has been extended on the Columbia River for spring Chinook, and summer Chinook fishing season opens next Sunday. Steve Leonard with Steve's Guided Adventures says, in past years, the Columbia would be closed during this time of year, but due to the big spring Chinook run with over 230,000 fish that have passed through Bonneville Dam, they decided to reopen it. Steve says it's not red-hot fishing right now, but there are still 2,000 fish a day on the average migrating through, so you still have a really good chance of hooking into one or two. The June hogs, which typically run in bigger size, will start to trickle in right now and will be at peak season in the latter part of June. If you want to go fishing with Steve Leonard on the lower or mid-Columbia River for a shot at a big hog, go to his website at stevesguidedadventures.com. That's stevesguidedadventures.com. If you're an angler fishing the upper John Day River in Oregon, you may have been frustrated in May by the flash floods and high muddy waters that made the fishing for spring Chinook almost impossible. Well, the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife feels your pain and is extending the fishing season another week to June 15th, so you can get a crack at these fish between Longview Ranch's Johnson Creek Bridge upstream almost 20 miles to the mouth of Rattlesnake Creek. The bag limit is 2 adult and 5 jack salmon a day. This is primarily a bank fishing show because there are no developed boat launches in this portion of the river. Have fun and go get some Chinook. Jimmy's All-Season Angler Shop in Idaho Falls reports great fishing during the late May opener on Henry's Lake. Fish are close to shore all around the lake, and midge patterns fished under an indicator are producing. If you want to mix things up, leech patterns presented on intermediate lines are working too. Find out more about fishing Henry's Lake and other eastern Idaho waters by visiting Jimmy's All-Season Angler Shop at 275 A Street in Idaho Falls or going to their website at jimmysflyshop.com. And in the category of not so fast, an update about that sage grouse hunting season closure in Montana for this fall. It turns out the Montana Fish and Wildlife Commission wants to hear from you before they decide whether or not to accept the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks recommendation to close sage grouse hunting this year due to a 48% drop in breeding activity for these big upland birds. The commission wants to know whether you, the citizen hunter, wants to close the season, keep it the same, or otherwise adapt it with shorter seasons or reduced bag limits. If you've got something to say, you've got until 5 p.m. on June 23rd to say it through the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks website. Just go to the hunting tab when you get there, or if that doesn't work, contact the state headquarters in Helena and weigh in.
'Cause I can't see the bottom of the ocean. And I'll never know you'll never look
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX Mackenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your Mackenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Bi-Mart stores. VX Mackenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for upcoming events, and we're back with Laurel Bronze with Tumalo Creek Kayak and Canoe. Laurel, I understand that you are hosting a pickin' and paddling event on June 25th in Bend. Tell me more about this.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's a tradition we started about 5 years ago to raise money for the Bend Paddle Trail Alliance, and that is an organization that came together to create a navigable paddle trail in Bend. And our biggest focus over the last 5 years is transforming the Colorado Street Dam, which is right across from where our shop is located on the Deschutes. It's a mill-era dam, and we're transforming it into a whitewater play park and a safe passage for tubers. So Pickin' and Paddlin' raises money for that project, and the digging on that project actually starts at the end of the summer and should be done by next summer. And the event itself involves free stand-up paddleboard, canoe, and kayak demos for 3 hours. And then we have bands. We've got usually 2 local acts and a larger regional or national act. And so we're really excited to welcome Francho Tone and Quincy Street to the stage. Those are our Bend locals. And then we have the Blackberry Bushes from Seattle, Washington as the headliner.
Oh, sounds fantastic. So is this a venue where people can bring a bottle of wine or maybe have a beer, or is it out, where exactly is this taking place?
Oh, sure. I should have explained that. It's right on the back lawn of the shop. We have a huge back lawn that just goes right out to the river, so the setting is magical. On a summer's night, you can see the Cascade Mountains in the distance. Deschutes Brewery's right across the river, and actually Deschutes and Cascade Lakes Brewery donate all the beer for the event. We usually go through quite a few kegs, and all the money that is raised from the sale of that goes to the Bend Paddle Trail Alliance as well.
Well, there you go. Sounds fantastic. Again, folks, that's the Pickin' and Paddlin' event taking place at Tumalo Creek Kayak and Canoe in Bend, Oregon on June 25th between 4 and 9 p.m. Find out more at the Tumalo Creek website, and that is tumalocreek.com. Again, Tumalo, Tumalo Creek.com for the Pickin' and Paddlin' event. Laurel, thanks for telling us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John.
In other upcoming events, if you're looking for a really unique adventure, we've got one for you. How about going on an expedition in Washington's Cascades to look for grizzly bears? The search for the ghost bear is being put on by the Wenatchee River Institute and a group of wildlife biologists who are offering you an adventure of a lifetime where you'll get to search the rugged North Cascades in search of grizzlies, a very seldom seen bear in this part of the Northwest. I'm guessing some hiking will be involved. Expedition dates are July 20th to the 26th and August 17th to the 24th. The price for the trip ranges from $400 to $450. Find out more at WenatcheeRiverInstitute.org. Again, WenatcheeRiverInstitute.org, and go to the Adult Education tab. For you Saturday listeners, today the 7th is National Trails Day. It's a day to celebrate the trails we hike on here in the Northwest. There are a number of events going on today, and you can find out about some of them by typing in National Trails Day onto your Facebook page search bar. This is also a free fishing weekend in both Oregon and Washington. That's right, no license required to fish in either state. Oregon has a number of events going on for kids too. Go to the ODFW website to find out more about that. And in Washington, the 7th is the day that a lot of rivers open for trout fishing. If you want to fish for free in Montana and Idaho, don't worry, you can do that next weekend. Montana's free fishing weekend takes place on their lakes and rivers the 14th and 15th, and Idaho has a free fishing day on Saturday the 14th in case you want to hit one of their famous streams for salmon and trout, or a scenic lake for trout or bass. In other words, the next 2 weekends are not only prime weekends but also free weekends to go fishing, so do it. And on that note, we better wrap up this show. If you get a chance, check out our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're always posting information there to include news which doesn't always make this show. Don't forget our website too, northwesternoutdoors.com. You'll find links to find out more about our guests, previews of the upcoming show, and our entire broadcast of last week's show, just in case you missed it. June's here, and that means it's a great time to play outside. We're going to leave you with some more music from Laurel Bronze. Find out more about her, a great songwriter, a singer, and a paddler too, at laurelbronze.com. Until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.
Like stars.